Hey, this is Craig. Welcome to Goods and Guitars. It's January 1, 2020. I've been sick as a dog. Had to get through Christmas. I'm also an art teacher, so we had to get through the end of the year and finals. So it's been a minute since I've made a video, but I have been getting some work done. Now, we're still on the Parlor. Where we're at this point is I've repaired all of the purfling, and in the process trying to match all these different colors of wood was getting to be a nightmare. And I had done parts of it and it was standing out. It was just horribly obvious. So I called and talked to the client, and our final decision was to just fill it with solid pieces of wood in the back. And so that's what we did. I got the binding on, so everything is repaired. It's basically ready for a final sand and then a few touch-ups here and there and get ready for finish. We've got a bridge blank made, and this is Oakenthal, I can't remember the exact name of it. We also got the neck squared away, and we got a fretboard on. But at some point, I guess while I was sick or in a hurry, I don't know, I messed up the fret slots. So I'm gonna have to take this off and do something different. So I've been doing some different studies, because this is the original board, and it's aged tremendously. I'm not even sure what kind of wood it is, but it's got this really nice patina, aged patina on it. And so I started off with some raw maple, and then I baked it in my oven for about 4 hours in about 375, and it darkened it some, but not as much as I would like. This is the same baked wood with fretboard restorative oil, basically tung oil kind of stuff on there, and it's still not quite what I'm looking for. And so once we get the fretboard off and get the new one cut, I'm going to do some more experiments. I may even experiment doing a little bit of aniline dyes and see if I can't like mimic some of this, you know, darker spots and wear. But anyway, so I'm not happy with the fretboard, and that also means I got to change the bridge blank if I do that. So that's where we're at on this one. Right now what we're gonna do is get this off of here, and I'll show you how I do that. I'm gonna try to save these dots. These were the original dots in the original board, so I would like to get those back out of there and use them in the new board like I did this one. I really like this wood. I just the fret slots are off, and so it's not gonna play right, and we can't have that. So let me grab an iron and we'll get started. Right, so we got her clamped up, and the iron's heating up. I've done this before on the Padula base build. Actually, I've done this a lot, taking fretboards off. So it's a fairly straightforward process. This is just a regular putty knife that I've thinned down. It's not sharp, but it's real thin. And this is a paint mixing knife. And what I do is I get it hot, and then I get these in here and start working my way up. There's no registration pins in here when I put this on. I use the technique that when you wrap it with the rubber band, it kind of pulls it square with the neck. So all right, so that's the last one. They're all cut. The next step in this process will be to mark out the board. It's got to be radiused, but I like doing it after the shape has been cut out for multiple reasons. Number one, I do it by hand, and so my sanding block is not quite wide enough, and so I'll go ahead and trim this to the size I need. And then this space right here is going to be used for covering up the rosette, this part right here where the rosette doesn't come quite together. And I may actually add one more fret right there. It just depends on how it looks when I get to that point, and it's something I can do the math on and calculate out. So right now we need to find a center line and then lay out how the neck's gonna go. And then once we get that done, then we'll cut it. So I got to find a pencil, which I happen to have right here. This is just a centering ruler. You can pick them up a lot of different places. So there's the center there, and then I'll come down here. Then we'll get a long straight edge. I don't think we're going to need that for a while, so we'll set it out of the way. Now this center line that I'm laying in here is going to do 2 or 3 things, but the main one is so I can get the neck, which I have no idea what I did with it. Anybody see? There it is. So the neck will go in here. And I got to line this up with the nut slot, which is there. Now normally, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Normally 12 is where it attaches at the body on this size guitar, Bajo Quintos, most acoustics. It's at 14, but this one is kind of in a weird spot. And it may be that scale was a little bit different on the original, so that's why 12's not lining up. But it's not the end of the world. I've got a fret right here, so if you ever need to have to, you know, drill down in this fret slot to get into here to steam this out to do a neck reset, you can go in that one right there. So it's not the end of the world. It actually helps it out, because if we were at 12, then this one's going to miss. So so now what I'm doing is I'm just eyeballing, getting it in the center, and then I'm going to take some measurements. Like what I can do is find the center of this dovetail, which is right there. So I can use that to center that up, and then measure right here. So we're 7/64 off of that side, and 7/64 there, so we're good there. And then up here we are 11, and on this side we're at 11. So there we go. Now what I'm going to do is trace the neck all the way down like so. Then I'm going to take this straight edge and line it up with that line, and then take it all the way to the end of the board, and then same thing here. I'm going to take it all the way to the end. Now, since I used the super glue and tape trick, it pops right off. If you don't know what that is, go check out Crimson Guitars on YouTube. He uses it all the time and it is awesome. So what I want to do at this point is put some of this stuff away and get the body over here, and then see if I need to add that fret for aesthetic purposes. I need to check that shot and see what y'all can see, what you can't see. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to add some frets here, because yeah, let me change shots. So I have this up here flush with the nut slot, and this is going to come down to cover up all of this. So I need to add 2 more frets. So what I'm going to do is go back into the calculator. So I got 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18. I want to make it 20. 4 7 6. Now I'm just rambling out loud, so bear with me. So this one, so that was 505. And the next one is 476. So I'm gonna write 505, 476, and that's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18. It gave me 18, so I'm gonna change this to 20. All right, so that means the next one, this is 476. So the next one is 450. And I didn't cut that taper in there because I'm gonna have to cut a couple more slots, maybe just one, I don't know yet. It depends on what it looks like. I mean, you would never think anyone would play up this high. I really need to get a dial one because this is a pain in the butt. You wouldn't think that anybody would play up this high, but you never know. Starting to make a mistake there, so I'll put a mark right there. So the next one is going to be 424, and I think that will be plenty. So I'm gonna have to cut 2 more slots, and yes, that will work out great. So we'll get that done real quick. Set all this over here out of the way. All right, so for this one, same process is going to apply. We're going to find our mark and put our knife blade in it. And then, if I can stop shaking, then we're going to run up to it. And then lightly, more. And then we'll find our next mark, which is right there. Slide up to it. Lightly, more and more. And now we have those last two slots. Now we got to cut them. And so, since I don't have it taped down anymore and it's out here on the end, I'm just going to clamp it down up here. And then I'm going to get one more. Check the shot because I'm not real sure. Oh yeah, y'all can see that. So that's going to keep it from moving on me. And then we'll cut these last two. So what I'm doing is I'm working the saw into the slot. It's going to follow the path of least resistance. And then I'm going to hold everything square, and a pull saw will make short work of it. And there's a reason they call it a pull saw. It works on the pull stroke only. So you don't want to try to go back and forth with it because it will chatter and jump and jack your fret slots up. And we're going to move up to this one. I'm in the slot, slow. I'm doing the same thing with the saw that I was doing with the knife. I start out with a light stroke, and then once I'm in there, then I give it a little bit more force. And then once this is radiused and glued on, then I'll chase these slots just to make sure they're deep enough, but they should be plenty deep. So now we got all our slots. We're gonna go over to the bandsaw and rough cut this to that size. So here we go. Okay, I cut just wide of the line so I can bring that down with a plane. I noticed when I put it on here, it's got a little bit of a cup to it, but that's not gonna hurt. Once I glue it down, it'll be fine. And then I'm gonna run this, probably gonna run it through the thickness sander one time just to make sure this back is good and flat. So let's go ahead and go do that. Okay, so now we've got it, it's flat, and this side's ready for glue, but we're not there yet. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is check things fit wise. And naturally, you know, it's a little wide, but I like to leave it that way, and then that way, once I get it radiused, then I can go in and clean this edge up and get it planed down closer. You can do it on a shooting board, you can do it with a plane. I've got videos that show both ways. I'll probably show you however I decide to do it. And I may plane this one a little bit real quick just to kind of give you an idea. But right now my concern is getting it radiused, and what I need to do is, because I can't remember what the radius was on this one, and so we need to find out what that is. Looks like it's going to be 9.5. Yep, that's what it is, 9.5. So we need to put a 9.5 degree radius on this, and then and what that is, if I do that first, that gives me less surface area to plane on. So let's we'll clamp it up in here and take a couple of runs at it, get a better shot for y'all. I've got this set for very shallow passes. I don't like getting overly aggressive with my plane because I can end up taking off more material than I need to. And what I'm doing is I'm checking my pencil line, making sure I'm not going too past it, or I just want to get right up to it at this point. So that's that side. Now I'm going to go this way so I stay with the grain. Just going against the grain, bad things happen. And you can tell the spots where I cut straight and where I got bumps, because it's not cutting at all in a couple of spots. It's high on this end, high here. I got a low spot right there, so I'm gonna work these high spots down. That felt like a pretty good pass. Still got a low spot right there. But just a little bit more. All right, one pass all the way through. So we are extremely close to the final size. Like 32nd, and we'll clean that up with files. Now, when I glue this back on, when I wrap it with a rubber band, that rubber band is going to make contact all the way around, and it will actually center this up. And then all this extra we'll deal with when we glue it to the body. And then we got to put our little arch right here. So right now it's time to radius, which is my least favorite thing to do, because like I said, I do it by hand and it's extremely laborious task, even with some seriously rough paper. So what I will do is basically sand this thing down. Like, I'm even considering taping this down and trying to knock some of this off with a plane. So I've had good results with that in the past, and then I've had some bad results. So we'll go with it. What is that? That feels like 120. And it definitely feels like it needs to be replaced. So we're going to do that. Oh, that said it. So now we got a new piece on here. We need to glue this down. I'm going to put it about right there. And tape. I'll put a piece here. And then we'll put a piece here. And then I'll flip this over. And then, man, I don't know if it's the glue or if it's just my fingers, but I can't get nothing to work today. So I'm going to put this piece here. Tear it. Make sure it's lined up. Put this piece here. Alright, so now cut the excess off. Excess off. Alright. Then we take a little bit of super glue. And then the back side tape, we're going to hit this with activator. And then very carefully line up the two pieces of tape, put them down, mash, let it dry, and there she is. And then we're going to put this away so I don't have to buy a new one like I did the other one. Now, like I said, I think I'm going to try to do a few passes to try to try to get this one. Off of here. That way I can kind of see. That made some pretty short work of it. Now we just got to clean it up. So we're going to take this. Now we'll go. Now that we got the bulk of it cut away, we're going to take pencil, and we're going to go with 80 until all of that's gone. All right. Now, I got some gouging right there, but by the time I get this all the way down to probably 600, it will be gone. But the plane did speed that process up quite a bit. Now you can tell when I bake this, the thing about baking it is that color, it goes all the way through the wood. It's not like a stain. So I can plane this, cut this, and it's going to have that color all the way through there. And the ones you see, the ones they call roasted maple, that are like really, really dark, those are pulled in a vacuum. And then I think they take them up to like 400 and something degrees, which, you know, if you don't do that, if you do that without a vacuum, you know, the wood could actually ignite. And so that's how they get it that dark. And I don't have that ability. So we're probably going to have to monkey around with some stains and try to get this to look the way I want it to look. But at this point in time, this is going to be my life for probably the next, 45 minutes to an hour. Hit it with some naphtha because it flashes off real fast, not like water. Because I'm not trying to raise the grain. What I'm trying to see is, do I have any scratches? And no, I do not. So our next step is going to be to let that flash off. See how fast that's flashing off? I don't know, I may fret it before or after. I do it either way. You just got to be real careful when you're hammering out here where there's nothing to brace on. I usually set it up against the table like this and then hammer it that way. So I can't use the board, we'll use this one. So you got your board sticking out like so, and you got to hammer these frets in. So I'm hammering on here, that way I don't snap that off. Or you could fret it all right now, but then I want to do some stain work. But the way this board, if you look at it, it's got the dark right there where the stain couldn't. So if I fretted it and then stained it, I can get the stain off the frets when I level and polish, but it'll have that darker buildup here. So when I try to, you know, sand this and wipe this out to give it that look, it's going to have those dark spots. And so that's probably what I should do, is fret it and then stain it so I can get that natural buildup. So I think that's what we'll do, is once we get her to 600, Now another thing I'm doing right here is I'm going to roll the edge of the board to give it that, it's been played for years. Matter of fact, I'm going to use, this is a foam block that's got some bit more aggressive paper on it, and I'm going to roll that edge. It'll make it more comfortable to play. It'll make it look more worn in. All right, brush it off. I'm gonna nap that and see where we're at. That'll work. That will work. I like it. All right, so now I guess since it's I guess we can roll some fret wire and fret it. Why not? Let me get set up for that and we'll do it. So the first thing we need to do is we need to roll our wire and get a radius put in it. And that's not how you do it. I am fumble fingering like crazy today. So you want to make sure that your tang is staying in the groove. And now we have a radius on our wire, and that radius is exactly what we want. So what I want to do is make it a little rounder because what is going on with this crazy thing? That's going up, that's going down. That slight extra bit of radius in the board or in the wire makes it want to bite in better when you hammer it in, and that's how I'm gonna do these, is hammer it. Now this wire is a very small gauge wire because it's a very small guitar, and that's part of the reason why I'm having troubles with getting it to feed through here, because the tang on this wire is extremely small, and it's I usually use medium and jumbo with it, so it's kind of wallowed out over the years, and it just bent on me. But we'll go in this way. You also need to cut off about the first inch on each end because it does not arch. So we're going to go with that. We'll start with one piece. Like I said, we're going to cut off about the first inch. I'm going to set y'all up where y'all can see what I'm doing a little bit better. So y'all, I'm going to try to keep my fat fingers out of the way. So this is how I'm going to do this one. Is I'm going to lay it on here and get an approximate size. I'm going to cut it off, and then I'm going to hammer it in. That way I don't have to try to keep up with what goes where. So what I do is I get this side set, and then this side set. And then all the way across, and check it and make sure that it's set all the way, and we're good there. So we'll grab the next piece, same thing. I do, now that I just thought about it, want to chase these one more time because I forgot to do it, and clean all the dust out. That might be part of my problem. So we're gonna take and get everything out of the way. Yeah, and this is gonna pull all the sawdust that we had in there out. Make sure that slot is deep enough, because that sawdust will keep your frets from seating properly. So it won't take but a second. You just got it. One pull will usually do the trick. I also have a fret slot cleaner I could run through here, but I'm pretty sure that this is going to do the trick. Yeah, that one had quite a bit in it. Hey, my tape gave loose. We'll have to put that back in there, because it was intended for this movement, not this movement, so I rolled the tape, but it's an easy fix. Actually, we don't even need the tape for knocking the frets in, so I'll pull all this off, and don't need this anymore either. Trash can. All right. Again, same thing. We're going to tap in this side, and it flipped on me, which that's a good sign, because that means the slots are getting tight. I'll probably just speed this part up, so all right, so as you could probably tell, I was having some fretting issues. And so what I'm doing at this point is the ones that I got in, I am putting into this deal, and they've been clamped in with the radius jig, and then I ran some thin super glue, which is a standard procedure for frets, and then I clamped it all together to hold them in. I think my problem was the tang. It was just, I don't know. They say when you bake or roast maple, it gets very brittle. So maybe it wasn't dragging very good or something. But right now, while that's drying, we're gonna get these dots back out of here. So we're gonna clamp that in and use a heat gun and a prayer and try to get those out of there. And I just dropped the clamp trying to reach around the camera, so I'm going to go back behind it. And basically this is just going to be a procedure of taking a X-Acto blade and a heat gun. We're going to heat this up and slowly but surely pop those out of there, and then put them somewhere safe so I can install them in the new board. If that doesn't work, well, it has to work because they're the original dots, and I don't want to try to make new ones. So we're just going to slowly heat this area up, and that's one out. There's the other one, and the last one. Alright, so that was easy. So what are we going to do with the next 10 minutes of video? Don't know. Sing you a song? You are my sunshine. My only sun. No. Okay. Alright, so we got the dots out. Things are still drying. Got a couple minutes left. So this is the bridge that I made, and it's just basically a shape blank right at this point. I still gotta take care of some stuff, because like one of the things I'm gonna do is, like, once the neck is in and the fretboard is on, then I have a jig that I can clamp to the back of this guitar that holds a high E and a low E, and they'll run up the neck and go onto the tuners. But the jig is holding the strings back here, and so what I can do is I can move this bridge back and forth until I get the intonation where I want it to be, until it has the right intonation. And then that's when I will mark where the saddle's gonna go. And one of the things I do is I can take I use a piece of small copper rod to act as the saddle. And then once that rod is in there and I get it twisted the way I want it, the bridge is in the position it is for the compensation, then I mark that line. And then that's where I'll go in with my Dremel tool and my jig I have for that to cut the slot for the saddle. And then I'll put the saddle in and then do the same thing, move it around until the intonation is right. And then I'll tape the bridge down, pull the saddle out, drill 2 holes, put some registration pins in there, so once the finish is on and I go to glue this bridge on, it goes exactly where it's supposed to be. Now, the problem is I made this bridge to match the fretboard. Now, does it have to be made out of maple? So no, it doesn't. And so I'm probably going to use this bridge and then, you know, stain it to the color that it needs to be and to make it look right. And then probably in this area right here, you know, where your hand, you know, rubs, probably wear that, some of that finish off. And I don't want to necessarily say relic it, but kind of make it look the way it should. So we're kind of at a point right now where I think what I'm going to do is just stop, put this video out, and the next one we come back into will be finishing getting the frets in, or they'll frets will be in, because this is a process that, I mean, y'all see what I'm doing. I rounded the fret wire, or radius of fret wire. I'm hammering them in. I was just running into some problems, and that happens. I mean, I could have, you know, stopped the video and then come back and told y'all, hey, I nailed this, but it don't always work that way. And if any of y'all are watching this to learn, which that's not what I'm doing this for. What I'm doing it is to just have an outlet to show people what I can do, whether that's arrogant or not. It is. You can comment on it in the comment section if you want. But if you're using this to learn, things are going to happen. Things are going to go wrong. And it's these little things that I show you are the way you get around it. So this is where we're at. I had some issues getting these frets knocked in here, but in the long run, they're done, and there definitely needs to be some cleanup on them, but they're in. So what I'm going to do at this point is reattach it to the guitar, and that way we can move forward with the bridge and getting all of that squared away like we talked about last time. So how I'm going to do this is no big secret. I've done it before. So we're going to put glue on here, and then I'm going to clamp it right here so I know that it's right even with my nut slot. And then the rest of this is going to be wrapped with a big rubber band. And what that does is that rubber band will pull this into shape with the rest of the neck. And then any discrepancies I have, which I can feel just a small lip, I'll work those with a file down into the neck profile. That way it feels like it's one contiguous seam. And then we're going to move forward. So we also can't really address the arch down here to cover up the binding we talked about until we get this glued on. So that's what we're going to do right now. First things first, I'm going to knock all the dust off of everything, because it's bad. You don't want dust. Dust is bad. And I'm in a shop full of it, so, you know, dust is bad. I can say that a million times. So we're just going to slop some glue on here, like so. And then we're going to get a tongue depressor. I don't have my microphone on right now, so if you can't hear me, I apologize. I could probably move y'all closer. That would be awesome, wouldn't it? Where y'all could see what the hell's going on here. What I'm doing right now is making sure that I have glue all over the place. And that is a lot of glue, and a lot of it's going to squeeze out, but that's fine. We'll clean it up. It's already dripping onto the floor. And if you notice and you pay attention in my videos, I'm wearing the same clothes I was wearing in the last video. That's because it's only been about an hour since I got the fret thing straightened out. So sometimes making the videos is what screws me up. Anyway, we got a rubber band over here ready to go. So what I do now is I'm going to put this on here, and I'm going to roll it around and mash and mush, and then run that up there. And then this is going to get a clamp, but it's also going to get my first wrap. And that's what's going to hold my first wrap in place. Now, I'm going to pause for a minute for two reasons. One, I'm going to clean some of this squeeze up that's already rolling out of here up. And then also, I'm going to give this time to bite. And then I'm going to get that big glob off the board. But that board's going to get straightened up here in a minute. So right now, I can tell I need to slide it over just a hair. Then we're gonna put this back in here, because that initial grab is what keeps it from creeping on me. And we all know what creep is. You put clamps on glue, and it wants to start wiggling around and moving and getting out of shape. So now that we got that, then we're going to take this rubber band and we're going to ever so tightly start wrapping down the neck. And this pulls everything into alignment, unless it comes out of the clamp like that. So now that I have it started, I'm gonna and you see all that squeeze out coming out right there. That is good. And then we're gonna go up under the dovetail and use that to our advantage to pull this part tight down there. Now, I got glue coming out everywhere, which is good because that means it's all in there. And now we're going to go back up. Put this right here. And then find us a place to tie a knot. And then one more. All right, and then one more go with the squeeze out on what I can get to. All of this under here I'll clean out with a chisel. And that is plenty of clamping pressure to hold that, and we'll let it dry for 24 hours. We'll pull it off, clean it up, and then we'll start dealing with the stains. All right, so that's going to be it for today. I'm going to have to edit all this stuff together and get it put out. It should go up sometime tonight or tomorrow. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I would like some comments, whether they're good or bad. One of the things I get asked the most is nothing. No one ever asks me anything. They say nice things, but they never ask any questions. I've had a few about what kind of woods I use and things like that, but that's mainly in the bajos. And the only thing I can tell you about that is I don't use the standard woods that you're going to find in most bajos because they don't sound good. That opens up the whole debate over tone woods. But what it boils down to is this: acoustic guitars, the woods matter. Electric guitars, not so much. Texas Toast guitars, they're building a Les Paul out of plywood. So go check those guys out. Crimson Guitars, that guy makes some guitars out of some crazy woods, but they're all electrics. So I appreciate it. I'm gonna say goodbye. I'm not gonna ramble on, and we'll catch y'all on the next video. Happy New Year.